Hello, my fellow project managers, PMP exam fighters getting ready for the PMP exam. You might have looked at the risk management area and wondered, how do I make sense of this flow of events? Well, today we're going to be taking a look at the risk process flow. And by the time we're done, you will find understanding risk through the lens of the PMI a lot simpler. Let's get straight into it. First of all, understand that for every knowledge area, you have the presence of a project management plan coming into that knowledge area. So risk is no different. Risk is where you see two very important processes contributing to risk management. One is develop project management plan, and two is develop project charter. Remember, the project charter contains those overall project risks. So it makes sense to have some mention of the project charter as an input here. So the project charter becomes an input to the plan risk management process, and the develop project management plan process supplies the plan risk management process with the existing components of the project management plan. Think about it. If you're planning how to manage risk on a project, you want other components of the project management plan as they become available. Schedule, scope, cost, procurement, quality, all of those areas and others could be used as references when planning how to manage risk because they could impact risk. Now, remember, risk is perceptual. For this reason, you also need to include stakeholders in risk discussions early. We have the identify stakeholders process supplying plan risk management with a stakeholder register for this reason. Now, you already have noticed, I'm sure, that the project management plan is ubiquitous. You see it everywhere, going almost everywhere except two processes. It does not go into where it came from. So we don't see it going back in here, and we don't see it going back into develop project charter, but everywhere else, you're guaranteed to see a project management plan as an input. So in this schematic, we show the project management plan going to identify risks, which is normal. We also see it going to perform qualitative risk analysis and perform quantitative risk analysis. We also have that same project management plan going to plan risk responses and monitor risks. Now let's backtrack for a quick second and think, what exactly makes this project management plan so relevant? Well, understand that the project management plan contains the risk management plan. So there is an unspoken flow of the risk management plan coming out of here and going back into the develop project management plan process, just like that. So I want you to think of that flow at all times. For every knowledge area, there's always going to be a flow back in. In this case, it's the risk management plan that I really want you to keep your eye on. The risk management plan becomes part of the project management plan. And when it hits perform qualitative risk analysis, when it hits perform quantitative plan risk responses and monitor risks, remember it contains the risk management plan. And that is key in this arrangement. Moving forward here, we also have a feedback loop from identify risks into perform qualitative risk analysis, plan risk responses, and monitor risks. And we're talking about the risk register. We have the risk register go into all of the processes that happens after it in risk management. Why? Because we need this for our analyses. We need to understand which risks have been identified, then we can analyze them, plan for them, implement any responses that we put in the register associated with those risks, and so on. We have this feedback loop of change requests coming from monitor risks and going into perform integrated change control, because when you monitor risks, you could have change requests for one thing or another. Those will need to be reviewed. And we also have the feedback loops of work performance reports right here going into perform integrated change control. And we can also see work performance reports, which are used in the monitoring of risks coming out of monitor and control project work and going into monitor risks. So you will see a lot of feedback loops here in particular. We also have work performance information coming from monitor risks and going into monitor and control project work that is then processed. And we have work performance reports. So this is a rather interesting one in which we can see the 3 W's. You don't see the work performance data, but the work performance data is going into monitor risks to generate work performance information. And then we get a work performance report, which we use to consistently monitor risks. Now we can see direct and manage project work supplying work performance data to monitor risks. So it is a rather unique process in that regard. We also have the implement risk responses process, and that in turn uses the project management plan, which contains the risk management plan as an input. It's obvious that the risk register would need to be an input to implement risk responses for obvious reasons. Now, in this image, not every single thing is shown. For example, there is information about the risk report coming from identify risks and go into a number of other processes, for example. But we will not cover that here. Instead, just remember the risk report is a high-level report that tells you the state of the project overall, mentioning key individual project risks and also overall project risks. Now, when you get to implement risk responses, what you should understand is these responses are either going to make their way into some sort of schedule or backlog so that you can implement those responses as tasks. That is not shown here. Also remember that some of these risk responses could necessitate changes. So as part of your planning risk responses, be aware that something else that could happen is you may need to process changes as well as a result of you planning certain responses, especially if they exceed the budget or they touch any of the triple constraint pieces after the plan has been solidified. Because remember, this is not a one-time thing. Risk management is an iterative set of activities. So you got to carry those out through the life of the project. In closing, let me remind you of the 5 strategies for negative risks or threats and the 5 strategies for positive risks or opportunities. There's a simple mnemonic. It's A-team, and this is for the negative risks or threats. A is for avoid, T is for transfer, E is for escalate, A is for accept, M is for mitigate. And then for the positive risks, we have a mnemonic, which is easy. Escalate, accept, share, exploit, and enhance. These will help you with your recall on the PMP exam. So I hope you have found this to be helpful. If you are struggling in your prep or you need a primer to get you to shipshape for the exam, go on down to PMP exam immersion site, which is hpmexam.com. We have a boot camp coming up. It is an absolute steal. you need to go on down to hpmexam.com and sign up, because in this half-day bootcamp, we will get you squared away to understand the enormity of the exam and to solidify what you have already started. So if you feel you've got loose ends in your studying, you want to firm it up, go on down to hpmexam.com and let's meet for the half-day bootcamp. You'll be glad that you did. Thank you very much, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share with your friends. It helps the algorithm and it does motivate us to create more videos for your PMP prep. Thank you very much and bye for now.